Good morning on what is a bright, sunny but chilly day. It is Friday, October the 15th. I am back in the Reading Nook with some parcels and, of course, a nice hot cup of tea. And you'll see the next one I am going to open is this one. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, where's the knife? There it is. And inside, okay, what we've got is this. So there's a bit more unwrapping. So, I've torn that, so I'm going to have to. Oh, that's not coming right. Okay, God blimey, it is well wrapped because all right. Okay, I'm through the padding. Okay, and then it comes in its own little envelope. It's a little plastic bag. So almost there. So what we've got here, and basically I know we're a minute into this video and you still don't know what's in here apart from me just going ooh. And what we've got is essentially a very early Palladium Books role-playing game called the Mechanoid Invasion. And let's have a look. 3, so I think it's like that. And this came out. Oh, this really is old. I didn't realise just how quite old this is. Let's see if I can find out. This is 1981. So I will probably have to do a review of this fairly soon. And what we've got is 3 parts. So the Mechanoid Invasion, and then part 2, the Journey, and then book 3, Homeworld. And these are when I say these are old. This is really kind of produced on. Basically takes back to sort of style of Judges Guild and stuff like that. The really kind of the rough brown paper, and the production values, yeah, I realised this was 1981. And there's a correction sheet in here. So we open up and automatically it's a Palladium Games books title because there are occupational character classes. I'm going to say this is really going to be really quite difficult to read because it's fairly small text and there's a lot of it, especially on that brown paper. But we've got the trademark of really a sort of like Symbion's artwork, which is always good. Whatever you think of his books, he is a good artist. And so we have classes like the Esper and the Communications Engineer. And then you take electives. I don't know what they are, but hey, it's not quite clear. This is going to be, the other thing is this is going to take quite a close study, but you'll see the artwork style. You'll recognise this from years and years of Riff's books and other titles from Palladium Books. And then we have a section on psionics and colony weapons, experimental weapons. And then a chronological sequence of the Mechanoid Invasion. So essentially this is a colony under attack by invaders, and we've got really quite a nice map there presented in the middle. Now I believe this obviously would have been reprinted later on as one collected book and cleaned up and tidied up, and so we've got vehicles as well, quite advanced vehicles for the colony, so it's certainly for science fiction future. all the way up to sort of like we've got a Rosenstein land buggy, two-wheeler, quite weird, and then a dreadnought ship, which is obviously an experimental version of a shuttle-like orbiter. Okay, describing the planet of Gideon E, and we've got rules for cyborgs in here as well. So presumably these are the invaders, being the mechanoids. But again, really quite nicely illustrated. It'll be interesting to give this a review. So that's just in the core rules, and we've got a description. Essentially, the world itself. There's obviously been something else there before because there's an ancient transit system. So yeah, bit of a lost world sort of thing going on there. Or and then coming in 1992, Palladium Book presents The Journey, Mechanoid 2, and Homeworld Mechanoid 3. So this is just the first volume, and then we go on to see. Let's have a look. This is 1982. So I might actually review this in multiple parts. You never know. And there's tape sticking to the books. Always a danger when you're unpacking. So the journey is the journey. Homeworld is the final part. So that's what we've got in the back. Again, basically, this is this section really for the this. When did this come out? Yeah, this came out in 1982. So this is a section on how to play, the GM's job. We've got a chronicle sequence. So there's some overlap here with the content for the GM, and we've got more details on the enemy, essentially, again, really kind of nice illustrations. I mean, you look at this, and this is just fantastic artwork. It's big, it's bold, it's exciting science fiction in the sort of mechanical sense, and then we have more equipment. Again, just this, I love this artwork. I mean, you just forget how good it is when you look at it. You go back to it. Sean kind of separated away from all the stuff you sort of like attached to riffs and that sort of thing. And Symbiota himself, so got a nice little cross view of a mechanoid base. And again, and then more devices, more enemies, and some of this artwork you'll probably recognise from elsewhere, because a lot of it, there is a degree of recycling across all of the role-playing games that Symbiota wrote, certainly in the artwork. I mean, not all of it, just some of it, and even within the book, because essentially that piece of artwork is in this book, because I'll show because essentially where we are. Mechanoid Invasion Book 1, and on, where are we? Here we go. And it's here again. Basically, same section, psionics. That's fine. Then we look at the journey, which is basically the battle for Gideon E, and the journey that the player characters take. We've got a huge section describing a base, complete with basically there's the a mechanoid mothership cross section and deck plans. It's hugely detailed, I think. And then we get down to Type 1 main junction. Here we go, and really, here's a section where the players might just walk past, but again, if they investigate, it's all there for the GM's benefit. We're doing mutants and different types of enemy, the sleeper team. Essentially, there's an evacuation from Gideon E to the mechanoid mothership, a double objective of sabotage and survival. So You've got a great story. You've got a planet under attack, being invaded, and they spend a special team off to attack the mothership itself. Okay. So far, science fiction, Sonic, science fiction, magic. So yeah, that's not weird at all. Literally, just here are some spells. Where have they crept in from? Yeah, and there's a Game Master section at the back, but magic? Where did that come from? And yeah, okay. So yeah, that's the journey. So you've got those two, and then we go on to book 3, which is, it says 100 pages. Just check. I mean, this one runs to book 2 runs to 60 pages. Book 1 runs to 50 pages. Oh yeah, not on the back of page on the back of the book 1. We've got a nice bit of artwork there, so just show you that. And essentially, that's introducing the Mechanoid Invasion. I think you basically, and that's a nice way of doing it. You know, instead of a blurb, here's how it happened. So we come to Palladium Book presents Mechanoid Invasion, Book 3, a complete new SF game, and essentially you've got a guide to play, and occupational character classes, of course, and skill descriptions, and the requirements for electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, pilot, field scientist, light assault, heavy assault, scavenger, thief, scavenger, seeker, and so on. And again, that's the layout for it. Again, it's not great, I don't think. I mean, it's adequate, but it's difficult to read. Then we go to Nightmare, and then that's the details of the adventure. Again, I don't know how much I'm really enjoying this artwork. And it'd be really, really interesting to play this, and it would be interesting to really look at this again, but a different setting or system. I mean, this, I think, Palladium Books have already done it with Pinnacle Entertainment. They've done a Rifts version using Savage Worlds. But I think something more down with less of the scale issue of Rifts, you could probably do this very well. And you know, this would, you know, you'd be getting this out of the, basically bringing it out of the vault, and looking at it in detail and presenting it in a more accessible form, because essentially this would be reprinted as a basically a book with a fully painted colour cover, and all the content sort of like reformatted and presented as a sort of like a standard early Palladium Books title, you know, whether that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Robotech and so on. But yeah, again, you spaceships in here, but it's not been looked at since, and I think there's probably something quite interesting and fun in here that's worth looking at. And then you know, basically you've got pages of weapons, of course you have, science fiction role-playing game, and they all kind of look familiar, but they're science fiction enough. A lot of them look like vaguely Earth battle rifles, and then we've got weapons of the enemy, I presume, just from browsing, of course. So Game Master section details more aliens and other threats, including the Mechanoids, of course. So we've seen these before. Then we get on to, let's have a look. So I'm going to just show you just lots and lots of artwork. So there we go, there's more. And again, it's sort of reprinting. There is a lot of collecting and reprinting here. Again, almost wholesale, you know, page for page. Okay, and then this is more new stuff. I'm showing this. Some interesting stuff down here if I can find it. Okay, we've got a map of Dione, and basically another world under Mechanoid occupation. So different. I think we've got a different setting in here as well. And then Mechanoid outer perimeter defences, incomplete with cross sections. It's a sort of nice touch. It's not quite floor deck plans, but I mean that's enough for the GM to work with. You know, sometimes it's more than you might necessarily get. Including, you know, these are quite nicely detailed. So that's kind of suitable for sort of like, I suppose, if you're doing like a Starship Troopers kind of invasion thing. And we've actually got an actual map in here. There's a bit about here the elements of role-playing games, or aka adventure games. Notes and sort of like notes about role-playing games essentially for the player, notes about game mastering and conflict and pacing and so on. And we've got a Mechanoid psychological research base, the deck of living encounter table, and then last of all we have a nice bit of cartoon artwork. Okay, more. It's nice to see sort of like that kind of thing appear as well. And lastly, you've got a description of books 1 and 2, and notes on science in the back. And so it will be interesting to. Since that's Mechanoid Invasion books. Let's have a look so I can do this properly. 1, 2, and 3. Interesting, very early game from Palladium Books, which I kind of think most people will, well, and some people will certainly be aware of, but most people have forgotten about. And I think it's probably a nice, an interesting take upon a sort of science fiction invasion setting, and probably very playable and accessible back in the day. As I say, I don't know whether you would necessarily play it using these rules now, but if you have it or access to it, it might be worth looking at and adapting to something which is probably a bit easier and probably a bit better explained and so on. But that's your choice. That's the option. But really, you have everything you need to play in these 3 books, and of course, more likely in the reprint that came sort of like 2 or 3 years later. Well, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please click the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you posting those, and I do take the time to read them. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here in the garden with a parcel or 2 and a game or role-playing book which I can talk about to the best extent of my knowledge for 10 minutes or so, all accompanied of course by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks for watching. I'll be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.